The case of Tawnee Baird, an ESL exercise on overloading. Tawnee Baird was born in Salt Lake City, Utah on June 17, 1993. She grew up in the nearby town of Holiday. Her parents separated when she was a year old and she lived with her mother, but her father remained active in her life. She was described as attractive, outgoing, and energetic. She wanted to be a singer someday. She also had a number of friends and was extremely popular. Many people were interested in her romantically. In June of 2010, right around the time Tawnee turned 17, she was riding in the back of a friend's vehicle when they were pulled over by the police. Tawnee was arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia and eventually received probation. Her father discovered that Tawnee continued to use drugs even while on probation. He approached her probation officer and requested that she be given random drug tests. The probation officer did not have the authority to order this type of testing. Therefore, Tawnee's case was referred to juvenile court. Initially, Tawnee was taken into the custody of the Division of Child and Family Services and placed in foster care. Soon thereafter, Tawnee was sent to a behavioral health treatment center for 90 days. This was a secure facility, so it was really like a jail. It was a rough and dangerous place that was overwhelming for Tawnee. While she was there, Tawnee met a woman named Victoria Ashley Mendoza, who, despite being young, was already a career criminal. Victoria's family had moved to Ogden, Utah from Mexico. Her father brought an end to his own life when Victoria was 10, and her life spiraled out of control. Tawnee and Victoria became romantically involved in jail. This was surprising to people who knew Tawnee because, prior to this, she had only been romantically interested in men. While in jail, Victoria found out that her mother was dying of cancer. This may have accelerated the intense feelings between Victoria and Tawnee. In August of 2010, Tawnee was released from the treatment center, but Victoria still had about a month to serve. Before Tawnee walked out of the treatment center, Victoria gave her a note which read, "Sleep with anyone else but me, and I might have to kill you. I mean it. All my love." Tawnee probably thought Victoria was writing figuratively, but she was not. In September of 2010, Tawnee picked up Victoria from the treatment center. Instead of going immediately to visit Victoria's mother, who was dying, Victoria stayed with Tawnee and her family for a few days. Tawnee told her mother that she was now a lesbian, which was surprising, but her mother tried to be accepting of her daughter's new relationship. Tawnee's father was somewhat surprised that his daughter would be interested in Victoria due to Victoria's appearance. For example, she had a number of tattoos. Tawnee's friends described Victoria as rough around the edges. It was clear that Victoria was jealous. She was particularly concerned about Tawnee's interest in men. A few days after Victoria's release from the treatment center, Victoria and Tawnee visited Victoria's mother in Ogden, Utah. The couple went out that night to meet Victoria's friends. They were described as wild, rough, and unsophisticated, not the type of crowd to which Tawnee was accustomed. Early in the relationship, Victoria had sex with one of Tawnee's friends, and Tawnee broke up with her. In an effort to win her back, Victoria posted a public video on social media in which she offered a bizarre, creepy, and immature apology. This video confirmed that Tawnee made a wise decision by ending the relationship, but Tawnee found the gesture to be flattering and decided to reunite with Victoria. In June of 2012, Victoria's mother died, and Tawnee's family invited Victoria to live in their residence permanently. Tawnee and Victoria did not get along very well. They frequently had arguments that involved screaming. Victoria's anger became more intense over time, and she followed Tawnee everywhere. Tawnee's mother tried to keep them from spending too much time together, recognizing that the relationship was unhealthy. In addition, Tawnee's family tried to help Victoria. For example, Victoria was able to have some of her tattoos removed because Tawnee's grandmother paid for it. Victoria's aggressive behavior continued to escalate nonetheless. During one argument, Victoria punched Tawnee in the mouth and knocked one of her teeth out. This unexpected assault should have led to Victoria's arrest, but Tawnee was concerned that Victoria was now an adult and would go to real jail if arrested. In September of 2014, Victoria was hired as a security guard. This was her first job ever. Some people saw this as a turning point. Maybe her life would go in a positive direction. On October 17th of 2014, Victoria, Tawnee, and a friend of theirs went out with a few other people. While they were out, Victoria became upset and went into the bathroom for a while. When she came out, she demanded that Tawnee and their friend leave with her. Victoria was done for the night. Tawnee and Victoria dropped off the friend, and Victoria climbed into the passenger seat of the vehicle. On the way home, when Tawnee was driving on Interstate 15, she and Victoria engaged in an argument. At some point not long after midnight, now on October 18th, Victoria retrieved a 4-inch knife from her front pocket and stabbed Tawnee 46 times. Tawnee did not survive. It appears as though somehow the vehicle came to a stop, and Victoria dragged Tawnee into the passenger seat. Victoria then drove to a church in Ogden and parked the vehicle in the parking lot. She called her sister and 2 friends and told them that she had committed a murder. One of the friends was named Aaron. Victoria told Aaron, "I'm going to jail for a long time. I want you to tell people not to hate me." Aaron called 911 and was able to direct the police to Victoria's location. The police arrived about 1 a.m. and approached Victoria. They asked her if she had any weapons. She said the knife was in the car. Victoria repeatedly confessed to the police. She would later say that she just wanted to scare Tawnee and only intended to stab her a few times, as if stabbing someone just a few times were safe. Victoria was charged with first-degree felony murder. Initially, she pleaded not guilty and tried to mount a defense, but eventually she pleaded guilty. Victoria told the court, "I have no excuse for what I've done. That's the main reason why I've pleaded guilty. I really have nothing to say. I'm the monster here." She also said, "I'm suffering too." Victoria Mendoza was sentenced to 16 years to life in prison. Her parole hearing is scheduled for October 2039. Here are some thoughts that stand out in this case. Item number 1. Tawnee was using drugs by the age of 17. When she was arrested, she needed help to get free of substances, but sending her to a secure treatment center was not a good idea. There should have been support available outside of incarceration to help a young person discontinue substance use. When incarcerated, Tawnee was frightened and therefore more vulnerable to being manipulated. Tawnee probably became close to Victoria simply as a matter of survival, and in this detention environment, the complex situation amplified the effectiveness of Victoria's manipulation tactics. Tawnee was naive and gullible. She was not equipped to contend with experienced and streetwise offenders like Victoria, who easily convinced Tawnee that they must be in love and they were destined to be together forever. The relationship became dysfunctional and intense right away. Victoria managed to establish a level of control that was so pronounced that Tawnee didn't even think twice when Victoria threatened to kill her, like in that note that Victoria gave Tawnee when Tawnee was released from the facility. Tawnee had the perfect opportunity to escape the relationship when she was released about a month earlier than Victoria, but Tawnee was unable to break free. Item number 2. People who knew Tawnee were surprised that she would select Victoria as a romantic partner. Tawnee had never expressed an interest in dating a woman, but that wasn't the only characteristic of the relationship that took people off guard. People were also stunned by some of the differences between the two lovers. Tawnee may have committed offenses related to substances, but she was generally considered to be prosocial, refined, nonviolent, and friendly. She worked as an accounting assistant and had traditional goals in her life, like being a singer. Victoria, on the other hand, appeared to be antisocial, unrefined, irritable, and aggressive, although technically she also wanted to be a singer. Tawnee's friends characterized Victoria as rough around the edges, as was mentioned before. Victoria always carried a knife with her when it was clear to people that she did not have sufficient judgment to be carrying any type of weapon. In addition to the differences in refinement, it was a substantial difference in attractiveness that was most commented upon. Tawnee was considered highly attractive by almost everyone who knew her. Victoria struggled in this area somewhat. A lot of people who knew the couple wanted to be polite, like they didn't want to come out and voice their concerns. But everybody was thinking the same thing. In the dating marketplace, Tawnee was out of Victoria's league, which set her up for feeling jealous. There's a sense that Tawnee's family members and friends tolerated and even supported Victoria for the sake of Tawnee. They did not necessarily like Victoria, but they did not want to alienate Tawnee by delivering a harsh appraisal of Victoria. This, of course, was a socially acceptable move by people who knew Tawnee, but on the negative side, it may have denied her crucial input about her decision-making. Tawnee was not necessarily getting an honest perspective on the nature of her partner and the quality of their relationship. Item number 3. Tawnee and Victoria maintained an active social media presence during their relationship. They tried to frame themselves as the ideal couple. Everything was perfect. They were in love and having a great time. Nothing could be further from the truth. As the relationship became more violent, nothing changed in their social media presentation. This was another factor that restricted the honest feedback from Tawnee's friends, as if Tawnee's friends looked at the positive image the couple was projecting online and thought to themselves, they must be doing well. Therefore, it's better not to interfere. Item number 4. What may have happened in this case? Perhaps, in the time leading up to the murder, Tawnee started to realize that Victoria was not an ideal romantic partner. Tawnee may have been interested in pursuing other romantic relationships. The grip that Victoria had on Tawnee had weakened significantly. Victoria was no longer able to control Tawnee through violence. Victoria's temper tantrums had been relegated to a position where they simply caused embarrassment for both of them. In other words, the temper tantrums no longer represented an effective tool of manipulation. Tawnee was becoming more mature and leaving Victoria behind. Victoria started to view herself as isolated. She was on the outside. It was only a matter of time before Tawnee rejected her in favor of a more suitable romantic partner. On the night of the murder, Victoria became jealous and started arguing with Tawnee. Victoria probably believed that her relationship with Tawnee was severely threatened or over. Tawnee knew that Victoria was carrying a knife, and she knew that she was dangerous, but Tawnee was still being influenced by the manipulation. In one important way, Tawnee believed that Victoria would not seriously harm her. She trusted Victoria not to be homicidal. She underestimated how dangerous Victoria was. Victoria deliberately murdered Tawnee in the vehicle. She then lied about it. Victoria was not trying to scare Tawnee. She was trying to kill Tawnee, satisfying her jealousy and rage. This lesson is taken from Dr. Todd Grande's commentary on the Tawnee Baird case. Link to his video is listed in the description below. Speak in Shadows is a video series that features lessons which utilize overloading, a technique that promotes thinking in English only. If you are an ESL learner who would like to bypass your inner voice's habit of translating from your native language into English, then please like, share, and subscribe. And visit speakinshadows.com to get the free PDF companion to this lesson. See you next time.